Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Southside Beat here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel and DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcasting Network. If you listen to podcasts, this is pretty much anywhere where you listen to them. So if you're listening, thank you so much. Chris Halicke here, Matt Williamson joining me. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good, man. I am doing my best to steer clear of the Aaron Rodgers talk.
Yeah,
but you know, this is what people want to know about. What the heck is going to go on with the quarterback position? And you know, obviously Rodgers is part of it. It's funny because like we do the double shot show every week here. And we've been talking about quarterbacks pretty much every single day, and the numbers for the views have just been insane. And then yesterday we were like, we're not going to talk about quarterbacks whatsoever, and our views didn't get like cut in half, but definitely took a hit. It's just like people say they don't want to talk about it, and yet when we talk about it, viewership's up. So, but we don't.
I just wish we had more insight. You know, like I don't know that people need us to for any reason in this medium. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about the actual things that we can put our finger on. Which, you know, obviously right now we know Aaron Rodgers is still being considered to be the quarterback. We know the Steelers have talked to him. We know the Steelers have made an offer. We don't know the terms of that contract offer, whether it be 1 year or 2 years or $25 million a year, $35 million a year, or anywhere in between, or maybe it's not even in that ballpark. Who knows? We don't know that stuff. But what we do know is that he's in the mix. Possibly, we know Mason Rudolph is under contract, and we know that there are still some free agents available, not enticing ones, but still some free agents that possibly could compete with Mason Rudolph as a backup. And then there's this thing called the NFL draft that happens next month too. Let's start. I want to get into the NFL draft stuff because I really want to pick your brain on some of that stuff. But let's go the free agent route right now. Whether it be Rodgers, whether it be Joe Flacco, or somebody else, or maybe there's a trade candidate out there. I know we've kind of been on this already, but if it's not Aaron Rodgers, what attractive and realistic options do you think the Steelers need to be going after, or do you see them going after?
Well, I would be absolutely blown away if you and I report to St. Vincent's and Mason Rudolph's the unquestioned starter at that point. I can't believe that will be the case. And there's a lot of days between now and then to find some answers. I don't know how real the Rodgers Minnesota stuff was, but I bet he is contemplating retirement, as he probably did a year ago and a year before. I mean, at his age, he should.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the Giants or Steelers. I think the Steelers are more attractive. And deep down, if I had to put a chip down, I would bet Aaron Rodgers is the Steelers quarterback. Now, good. Sure.
No, I was just saying, like, if I'm a betting man, that's probably my bet too, is that eventually, you know, if the Vikings really aren't interested, which I have every reason to believe they're not.
Agreed.
And it's between the Steelers and Giants. I can't see Aaron Rodgers possibly lacing up the cleats for one more year to play for a really bad football team. He's going to want to play for a team in which he's going to have some weapons, which he would have with DK Metcalf and George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. Depending on what happens, what happens in the draft, they could end up getting a really good 1-2 punch at running back with Jalen Warren and round 1 running back, round 2 running back, round 3 running back. And yes, to say round 2 because there's always possibility the Steelers trade to get back into the second round. Who knows? It's a more attractive option to him. And for the Steelers, I keep saying this, it lowers the floor, but it also raises the ceiling if Rodgers is the quarterback. Is that crazy?
I think it's absolutely the highest ceiling of anything possible without question.
Right.
I mean, you might catch lightning in a bottle and he might be super motivated to end his career on a better note than he ended at New York. And I still think his best days are pretty frightening for the opponents. And go look at the last 5 or 6 games of the year last year. Pretty darn good. Back to your original question. Wilson's out there. I have a hard time getting excited about Russell Wilson because I just don't think you can get close to where you need to be with the player he is right now. But I also think Derek Carr, and despite what Schefter and some of these others said, Kirk Cousins could be had. I can't believe Atlanta is going to have a $40 or $50 million backup quarterback.
Yeah.
I can't buy that. I don't think he'll be a Falcon in week 1.
Yeah, I am curious about Kirk Cousins. I don't think he raises the ceiling quite as much as Rodgers possibly. He may raise the floor a little bit. It's just my concern with Kirk is because if you're talking about like last year with the quarterback carousel that happened last year, Kirk Cousins was my favorite quarterback in it. Now, I didn't think the Steelers were going to be in the mix because he was going to be too expensive.
Sure.
But in terms of the quarterbacks that were available, he was my favorite quarterback. I've always thought he's very, very underrated. He gets a bad rap for whatever reason because I don't know the reason. If you actually go look at his numbers, man, they're actually kind of insane, like how good they are.
Incredibly good, right?
But he did not look good last year. Like, just did not look good.
Go ahead.
It's hard to get that out of my brain to see the drop off. And now, could that be because of coming off of the Achilles injury? Whatever it is, I don't know. But it did not look good. It did not look like the Kirk Cousins that was in Minnesota. Even though he would have DK Metcalf and George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth to throw to, possibly also, you're talking about Calvin Austin getting more open space, Roman Wilson getting a little bit more open space, depending on what he can do. I think like I said, I think if you're talking about a guy who could start in front of Mason Rudolph, Kirk Cousins probably is a higher floor, lower ceiling option as opposed to Aaron Rodgers. And he also doesn't have the off the field baggage that Rodgers does. Yeah. So
let me throw one Cousins thing in that I dug up that blew me away, to be honest with you, because like Rodgers, he was an older quarterback coming off an Achilles, which is brutal for any player in this league, let alone someone that age. Mm-hmm. And we all watched him in week 1 struggle. I mean, I don't want that week 1 version of Kirk Cousins leading the Steelers, of course.
Yep.
But I dug this up and I thought it was pretty darn impressive that I guess he said on Good Morning Football or one of these shows that he took a hit during their week 10 game against the Saints and hurt his right shoulder and elbow. Okay. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to lie.
Yeah.
And from that point on, until he got benched for Penix, he was really bad. However, including that week 1 game against the Steelers, until he took that hit, he was the 7th best quarterback in EPA in the league.
Okay.
I mean, that's 10 games.
No, yeah.
And that includes week 1 that was really bad.
No,
and it took him a while. And he's not mobile.
No.
But his numbers are always good. You know what I mean?
Because that's the part that intrigues me about Cousins is that if he's healthy, if he's over the Achilles thing, if he's healthy, now that's a
huge if.
That's a huge if because when you talk about a quarterback that is not mobile, that's not Russell Wilson, even though he is much less mobile than he used to be, but still more mobile than Cousins or Rodgers now.
I don't know if Cousins can give you 17 games, but
I don't know either. And that's why you have Mason Rudolph. You have Mason Rudolph to be a backup who can ideally be a backup that can start you games. And if Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr or any of these options, and I saw one person in the chat throw Joe Flacco out there. If any of those guys are under contract, Mason Rudolph will start at least one game in 2025, if not multiple games.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just because of the fact that these are older guys, they could deal with a major injury at any moment. Okay. Yeah, so that's why
when in doubt, you might sit him anyways. Like if it's week 10 and he's questionable and you're 5-4 at that point, and sit a week, it'll do you good. And Rudolph has a lot of value because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Grizz here brings up in the chat for those watching live on YouTube, Desmond Ridder as QB3. Young had a pro day dinner with Tomlin. If I recall, I think that's what IRC. I don't even know. I'm behind on acronyms, guys.
I don't know what that is either.
I'm outdated. Could be a Dobbs-like guy to round out the room. Okay, so Arthur Smith coached Desmond Ridder in Atlanta.
Drafted him, yeah. I hate this. I hate this one.
I don't think
he's good.
I don't think Arthur Smith wants that again.
No,
to be completely honest.
I think Rudolph's a better player than Ridder.
I think two quarterbacks and I understand when the Steelers made all the moves that they made last offseason by getting Scotty Miller and Michael Pruitt and Van Jefferson and Cordarrelle Patterson and all these guys that played for Arthur Smith. Like, I get it. I get that, like, you're going to start looking at ties to Arthur Smith, like,
help install the offense.
Yeah,
right.
But I don't like two quarterbacks. I just did not see happening where Marcus Mariota, and that obviously didn't happen because he signed somewhere else. And then Desmond Ridder, I just did not see either one of those happening.
Yeah, I don't want them to happen.
Logan, thank you for helping me out if I recall correctly. Thank you for the acronym lesson.
Chris, I count on you for those things. You're the young pup in this.
Dude, I'm an older millennial. I'm almost Gen X. So I'm not quite Gen X. I'm in the millennial generation, but I was born in the late 80s. So I'm
you're an old soul too.
Yeah. I'm definitely an older soul. I'm not a younger soul. All righty. Well, we're going to take a break real quick, and when we come back, there are other options at quarterback. None of them have played in the NFL yet, but some of them can be intriguing, even though it's not a great class. But still, we're going to talk about some of those options when we come back right after this.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Carol here watching live says, then might as well throw Tannehill in the mix if you're talking Arthur Smith. I
almost mentioned his name, and then I just couldn't go there.
I don't think Ryan Tannehill is going to be playing football. I think he's done.
I think he's hung it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
you can do better than pulling him off the couch after.
You can. And what Arthur Smith did with Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee is very impressive. And that's why if Mason Rudolph, for whatever reason, does start games, maybe he could be the next Ryan Tannehill. Who knows? I don't know. But
I also am not going down the Flacco road, by the way.
Yeah.
I recruited Joe to Pitt. I mean, that means you're old. I mean, I'm old. And at this point, and I root for him, even when he's a Raven, I root for him. But he's gotten to the point where I don't think he's too concerned if he throws picks he has turned into a total gunslinger that if you don't, and I just think Tomlin would go crazy with the way he turns the ball over now,
Yeah, that would be.
There's not enough highs,
Yeah.
Brett Favre.
Like I've seen people throw, and this really is a time in which you're going to throw every quarterback name out there. And as soon as I see James Winston
the
thrown
same
out
way,
there,
right.
yeah, I'm like, no, it's not happening. Mike Tomlin would.
And I kind of like Winston. I still back him, but not for this team.
No, not at all. And Brick here says Flacco in a Steelers jersey is just wrong. I get that. Can you imagine Joe Flacco wearing number 5 in black and gold? That's just a little weird. All right, so there is this thing called the NFL Draft coming up in April. I have been constantly saying, and I'm not the only one, that this is not a great quarterback class.
Mm-hmm.
I like Cam Ward, but he's not going to be in the Steelers' reach. He could go first overall to the Titans.
He will. Yeah.
Shadur Sanders, he's probably going to be gone. If he's not gone, he probably will be a first-round pick.
I think he's going to go 2 or 3. The more I think
yeah. I mean, when you talk about the Browns possibly needing, possibly addressing quarterback this year, the Giants doing it, Sanders is probably going to be gone. But then after that, there's a lot of talk about Jackson Dart. And he's been mocked to the Steelers on your guys' mock draft that you do on Steelers.com.
That was Pursuta, and I don't speak for him, right?
Yeah, I know. Pursuta had Jackson Dart going 21. But I'm just saying, it's being talked about by those who are trying to pay attention to the draft. I have
Chris, real quick, and this I don't discredit at all, is Mel Kiper had him going 9 to the Saints.
Yep.
And Daniel Jeremiah had him go to the Steelers. And I will say, in my opinion, those are the two most dialed in draft analysts out there. I'm not saying they're the best. They're both very good.
Yeah.
But I think the league tells those two guys more stuff like that than any two draft analysts out there. And those guys, DJ will even tell you, I do mocks with my ears. You know, like people are telling me Dart's going in the first round. So
yeah,
I'm going to put him in the first round.
Right. So I don't know how much homework you've done on Jackson Dart. Mine has been.
I need to do more, but
I need to do more too. Like I just got done doing a scouting report on Jalen Milroe, and I want to get to him in a little bit.
I definitely want to talk about him.
So I'm really averse. So I brought up Jackson Dart because he's being talked about in the first round. I personally, with the homework I've done and the next scouting report that I do is going to be on Jackson Dart. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch it. With Milroe, I watched 4 games of every single snap at least. But I watched at least 4 college games in which I watched every single snap, and I watched them back. So I essentially watched 8 college games. But I need to be sold on Jackson Dart in the first round because I just don't see it.
I don't either. Okay. It is such a Mickey Mouse offense where they basically tell them.
Love that phrasing, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, here's the and sometimes literally they put the card up with the cartoon character on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And when the good teams took away their deep balls, they didn't have many answers. I would not want to play him at all in year one, which is okay. Yeah, I mean,
that's fine.
That's okay. I mean, he would be your number 3, I hope, with one of those veterans, Rudolph and Dart is 3. I see tools, but I don't see superhero tools. You know, I mean, I think he's a good runner. He's got a big, strong body. He's got a good arm. But do I want to wait a year and use a first-round pick on someone I don't think will probably ever be a top 10 quarterback, even if the stars align? It doesn't do it for me. Then I'm waiting to the 3rd round until I get a position player. You know,
that's the part that I understand. You know, when like people like Daniel Jeremiah say like he's hearing Jackson Dart in the first round.
Sure.
I get it.
So where do you put him in your mock? You stick him to the Steelers, you know, to get him in the first.
But to me, when you're looking at the long term here for the Steelers, and you're talking about a potential first round pick, because they just spent a first round pick on Kenny Pickett in 22 and it didn't work. They can't do that again. If they spend a first round pick on a quarterback, they've got to make sure, I don't care if they're picking 1st overall or 32nd overall, they've got to make sure that this is their franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
It's not for sure that's the guy. Do not draft him. Take somebody else. I don't care if it's a Marion Hampton, it's a running back. I don't care who it is. Do not draft a quarterback that you do not believe is going to be your first round guy. That's my concern with Jackson Dart is I don't necessarily see absolute, like very high chance future franchise quarterback. That's my concern there. I think to your point, in the right round, if he's there in the 3rd round, I am all over it.
Oh, sure.
1,000% all over it. It doesn't mean that I'm a Jackson Dart hater. It just means it's got to be the right pick at the right time. It can't just be you got to take him in the 1st round. I just don't see that, especially when you see the quarterback class that's coming next year. And I'm not just saying it because that draft is going to be in Pittsburgh, but just talking about Nussmeier and Manning and Aller and a few of these other guys. Nico in Tennessee. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. Nico in Tennessee. Like you look at all of these guys that are coming in next year's class. It's going to be a better class. There are going to be better options. You're going to be more loaded to trade up because of the compensatory picks you're going to be getting.
Great point.
It makes more sense to get your quarterback next year when it's a better class to choose from. Not saying don't choose one this year, but in terms of finding your future guy, that to me, that's not this year. Find a guy.
Feels like you're just forcing it too much.
Right. That's the part that I think people just need to be patient. Like I've been saying for months now, like you're not going to find your future quarterback this year. Unless Mason Rudolph, for whatever reason, has some sort of Sam Darnold or Ryan Tannehill moment in which he just figures everything out and he just becomes a guy.
Or you take Milroe in the third round and wow, I can't believe how good he is. Or
Right.
Shuck or someone, McCord or whoever. You're like, boy, we struck gold with Dak Prescott in the 5th round. We can't believe it happened.
Exactly.
That could happen, right?
Yeah.
Could.
So
Probably doesn't.
Milroe, I'm curious to get your thoughts on Milroe. We do know that the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and quarterbacks coach Tom Arth all had dinner with him ahead of his pro day at Alabama. Probably the most talented quarterback in the class. I have my own thoughts on him. What do you like or not like about Milroe?
Okay, so I hope we disagree. I want to, please tell me if you disagree. My timeline on Milroe was I was very early to this. I was super excited about him. I thought there was a good chance Fields would be the starter. Running quarterback. I think Tomlin's always wanted a running quarterback. He's played against Lamar, understands that value. And then I start digging into Milroe, and then I saw his hand size and his Senior Bowl and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like,
that was wrong.
Yeah, and it was wrong.
Wrong.
I'm like, I know he's a bad short to intermediate passer. He just flat out is.
Yeah.
And his hands are that small. I'm like, I think I'm out. And then I was happy to see his hand thing was reasonable now. So that aside,
those watching live, there's a comment that says Milroe has hands so small he can't open a jar of baby food. Yeah, so his hands at the Senior Bowl were measured to be
wrong.
Like well less than 9 inches, which is a major red flag. But at the combine they measured 9 3/8, which is you can absolutely live with that. So
then they need to figure out who's doing some of these hands. Whoever that scout was should be under a lot of heat. But anyway,
yeah, go ahead.
My current thought on Milroe, I'm liking him more and more. If you could go with veteran Rudolph, Milroe, he could sit the whole year.
Yep.
Or he could rookie year Lamar it for 8 plays a game and basically tell the whole planet he's running the football. He's a rocket ship. I mean, he is a rocket ship in terms of speed, and he's big and he's strong and he's an academic All-American and he's smart and leader. And I don't know what games you watched, and I can't wait to read your breakdown, but the first half of the season was much better than the second half of the season this past year. Some teams figured him out. And I know it's Bama, but he didn't have Saban, and a lot of his guys transferred, and he did not have the support that you would think. He had to do a lot on his own. He's an excellent deep passer, but he is really, really bad in the short to intermediate. I think he's a little too muscle bound. I would love to see him get more limber. People talk about like a flexible, loose arm. I think he's a little Levised up where he's doing too many curls for the beach and trying to get a little bit, do flexibility exercises as opposed to, maxing out all the time. And some of his footwork stuff, I think, can absolutely get cleaned up, especially with a quarterback coach you hire on the side, that all these guys are. And the beauty of him to me is if he hits, he could hit huge.
So
that's the allure.
That is the allure because again, when we talk about sheer talent, he's the most talented quarterback in the class, and I love
him and Ward. Right.
Yeah. So
he's a rocket ship.
I love that phrasing because, and that's spoken like a true former scout because I just say words like explosive and dynamic and So, whenever I wrote my scouting report, my NFL comp, and I almost didn't want to do this because I knew what the reaction was going to be. And I was right for the most part. I said Lamar Jackson as a comp. And the reason why I said that was not because I think he's going to become a future 2-time MVP.
Sure. Yeah.
That's not the reason why.
Right.
Yeah. That's not the reason why I said that. I said that he is Lamar Jackson because number one, he can make plays with his legs unlike anybody else at his position.
It's insane. He might be the best running quarterback the day he's drafted in the league.
I would still
including Lamar and Fields.
I would still put Lamar and maybe Justin Fields ahead of him there, but he's right up there already day one.
Lamar's better start, stop, make you miss. But I'm talking about like if he gets a corner.
So there's that, but there's also the fact that he can run in between the tackles.
He's big and strong. Yeah,
he can run like he can legitimately run between the tackles. You can run whether
quarterback
it be
power 10 times. Right.
Yeah, you
Josh
can
Allen
actually.
stuff, right.
Yes, exactly. What the Bills do with Josh Allen. So he is, and then he can escape pressure just by running.
Because he can shrug off a defender too. He's strong. Right.
He's and when he's rolling to his right, he's a lot better rolling
to
his right than to his left. I love his arm. He's got a legitimate NFL arm. He can really put a lot of zip on the ball. I like his base when he's throwing from a clean when he has time and he's got a clean pocket. I like his base. There's not a lot of cleanup there. The problem is that my two biggest concerns with him are the complete inability to deal with pressure right now, because it's just not there. And I want to say it's not there. I mean, think 2019 Mason Rudolph, but 10 times worse. It's bad. As soon as he starts to feel pressure, the eyes go down. He can't see anything. No chance for a check down. No chance for a hot read. It's gone.
And he may never get that.
Right.
Maybe.
And that's a big time gamble, because if you got to, there's no chance to succeed at that point. And then the second part is obviously the inconsistency and accuracy. Part of that is not being comfortable when pressure is surrounding him. And then part of that is just some mechanical stuff, as you mentioned. That he's going to have to clean up some stuff mechanically in order to become a more accurate passer. I'm not concerned about the hand size. I'm not concerned about a lot of the one reason why I think some of that stuff can be overcame is, number one, he's a really high character guy.
Right. He's work ethic, smarts, all
exactly. And then you add in the smarts to go with it. So when you talk about, he's not just going to be a guy that thinks he's going to have everything handed to him. He's willing to work. He's willing to be coached, and that kind of stuff raises the floor for me. But same thing, third round at the absolute maximum. I'm not going past the third round to take him. If he's there in the third, and the only draft pick so far is a defensive lineman, and DJ Giddens is sitting there, I'm a little tempted to take the running back, and possibly take somebody like Will Howard or Quinn Ewers in the 4th or the 5th round. But I am interested in Milroe in the 3rd round, at least at this point, just because if you
he hits big,
that's the thing.
Then the problem solved.
Lamar Jackson is the pathway for that. Lamar Jackson is
Lamar was a way better thrower at Louisville.
Correct.
Way better thrower. And I'm massively underrated that version, right?
When I wrote my scouting report, I definitely said, I said Lamar was a better prospect than Milroe is now. So let's get that out of the way. I'm not saying that
pro style offense, he did legit NFL quarterback stuff.
Right. So Milroe is not the same guy coming out of college, but the talent level is there.
Tantalizing.
Yes, because when you talk about the ability to win with your legs, he can do it unlike almost anybody else on the planet, and then he's got a legitimate NFL arm.
And if he redshirt / has a package for him in year 1, year 2 he gets a little better, but can lean on the legs. Year 3 he's a developed passer. There's a timeline there.
Yeah. No, for sure, 100%, and that's why I'm interested. I'm
glad we agree. A lot of people just kind of wrote him off, and I almost did.
I almost did too.
When the hands came in that small, I'm like, he just can't control the football. His hands are too small. I'm like, okay, that stinks. Too bad,
When I watched him throw at the Senior Bowl, I was just like, I'm sorry, I don't see it. I just don't it's just the accuracy wasn't there.
And that environment's terrible for him.
It is.
It's combine. I mean, it's when he's going to look the worst, but it's not going to be good.
No, and that's why I'm intrigued, but it's going to take some coaching. You're going to have a lot of faith in Tom Arth and Arthur Smith and whoever else you.
It's got to be a coach that he hires on the side, like Josh Allen did. And it's going to be someone he's paying out of his pocket.
Yeah, it's going to take some work. It's going to, and so, dang, we're almost out of time.
We get away from it.
Yeah, so really quick, anybody else that really catches your eye in the draft, just you want to throw out there really quick when you're talking late day 2 or early, like third or fourth round? Who do you like?
I actually like the mid-round quarterbacks. I kind of like McCord. I'm kind of really soured on Howard. Oh, that worked. That worked out
Howard
well.
on
Nice,
Howard.
Brian. Yeah, nice.
That does work.
I'm a Rourke fan. Those guys were later guys.
Yeah.
But I'm infatuated with Shuck. He has one big negative, and it's not his age. He doesn't like getting hit, and he is kind of will crumble under pressure a little bit.
Yeah,
but everything else there to me is very Justin Herbert. I still am super enamored with him.
Do you think Tyler Shock is going to still be there in the third round? Because that seems to be the big debate.
I think he goes in the top 40 or 50. I don't know if it'd be there in the Steelers' second round pick if they still had it.
Okay. So
especially if Dart goes in round 1.
I keep hearing different things. I hear second round, and then I hear as late as the 5th round. And I tend to lean more. I tend to lean closer to he'll be possibly available in the 3rd round, but he won't be there in the 4th. But
I would trade the Steelers' 3rd round pick for him, and now in a heartbeat.
So if he's there in the 3rd round, you're taking him. You're running to the podium.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't care about the age. The injuries are all broken bones.
Yeah,
I think he's got immense talent, but he has this problem of when he feels pressure, he doesn't like it. He doesn't stand strong in the pocket, and that might be a fatal flaw.
Mason Rudolph didn't used to, and he figured that out.
Right.
So that's a big help too. So
yeah.
All right. Well,
I love him.
We're out of time for today. We ran over quick talking about a lot of quarterback stuff. So it's probably not going to stop, especially if Aaron Rodgers still hasn't made up his mind by next week. But either way, we still have a lot to talk about. The NFL draft is coming up. The owners' meetings are coming up in a couple weeks too.
I'll see you there.
I will see you there. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what happens with the tush push rule. To see if that gets banned or not.
Interesting stuff.
So either way, thank you very much for listening. Thank you much for tuning in. We'll be back next week, probably same day and time. That's still TBD, but we'll see. Either way, we'll be back next week. Until then, catch you on the flippity flip. We'll see you later.